Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss The Hunger Games, starring Jennifer Lawrence, Josh Hutcherson, Liam Hemsworth, Woody Harrelson, Elizabeth Banks, Lenny Kravitz, Stanley Tucci, and Donald Sutherland, and directed by Gary Ross. Now before I get into the movie, why am I doing The Hunger Games? Well, it's because I'm bored, and I have no movies coming out this summer. Maybe with an exception of a few, but I'm kind of sitting while the coronavirus is going, and I'm bored out of my mind. I'm sorry. I'm going to just put some reviews out as I'm going to get into this movie. Let's get into it. Welcome to District 12. In The Reaping, Katniss Everdeen, played by Jennifer Lawrence, who is the movie's protagonist as she's cheering up her sister, Primrose, from a nightmare she's having about the Capitol picking out her name to the 74th Annual Hunger Games, where kids ages 12 to 18 play and kill one another. And where have I seen that before? There was a foreign movie called Battle Royale a decade earlier with the same premise, and this is a book series. As we get introduced to Katniss, we get introduced to Gale, played by Liam Hemsworth, who's brothers with Chris. And if you don't know who Chris Hemsworth is, he's Thor. Let's move on. And his relationship with Katniss is good here, but it might sour down when I get to the later movies. And to be honest, I do like Jennifer Lawrence as an actress. It's just that between these and X-Men Days of Future Past, Apocalypse, and Dark Phoenix, I feel like she's phoning it in, as she's very one-note in this movie. And Gale is a sour character, in my opinion. Effie Trinket, played by a disguised Elizabeth Banks, who is probably the best character in the movie, in my opinion, as she picks out Prim's name and Katniss volunteers, and another name picked out for the boys. And remember, this is the book series where they pick one young man, and one young woman to play in the Hunger Games from each district from 1 to 12. So let's move on. And picked out for the boys named Peeta Mellark, played by Josh Hutcherson, who I was first aware of in Zathura. And he's an actor I enjoy seeing in other movies, but here, as far as the love triangle between him, Katniss, and Gale, kind of reminded me of Twilight. And that's not a good thing, because I don't like any of those movies, Twilight I'm talking about. But this is a better movie than Twilight, in my opinion. We get introduced to G.B.M.H. Abernathy, played by Woody Harrelson, who's second best in this movie, Effie being number 1, by the way. And this is a better setup than Twilight, but I think ever since I first saw this, that it takes a way too long to get to the games. And this is a long movie at 2.5 hours, and that I thought could have cut out at least 20 minutes of setup at this point. We get to the Capitol and we meet Cinna, played by Lenny Kravitz, as they introduce Katniss as the girl on fire, as named by Caesar Flickerman, played by Stanley Tucci, who's third best. And after the Capitol is introduced to Katniss and Peeta on fire, not real fire by the way, but it's an effect, like a special effect, per se. And who do I get the impression is jealous of them? Cato, played by Alexander Ludwig, who I reviewed a couple times in Lone Survivor and Bad Boys for Life for now. And now, I know this actor from this and those other two movies. The two characters I feel get underserved as Seneca Crane, played by Wes Bentley, who's not in the next 3 movies. Anyways, so he's screwed anyways. And President Snow, played by Donald Sutherland, who is in the next 3 movies, but I fear he's screwed only in this movie because he's barely in it. Seneca almost gets killed by Katniss by shooting at the apple, an arrow to the apple. Yeah, to the apple, as they weren't paying attention of her shooting a bow and arrow. That's Katniss' strength, by the way. And Snow is pissed she got an 11, which is the highest score out of anybody, which was pretty funny in a weird kind of way. And these scenes are, again, taking way too long. PETA announces he's in love with Katniss, while was pretty damn awkward, and that was poor acting by Hutcherson, and he's done better than this, in my opinion. We finally get to the games, and I'm seeing bloody, brutal violence, as this is the roughest PG-13 rated movie I've ever seen, just kids killing other kids. It's pretty damn graphic for a book for teenagers. Put on screen, and half of these tributes are dead, and I know because I was watching Katniss's mouth saying 9, 10, 11, and 12. And there's 24 tributes, as 12 men and young men, I'll say, and 12 young women. So that makes it 24. This is a minor point anyways, but death number 13, which is a girl who's having a fire at night, and PETA joins Cato and his menacing squad, let's call them. And Katniss tries to get out of the games until fake balls of fire attacks her, and that reason I said they're fake is because it looks like it looks fake, and it reeks it too, in my mind. Cato and the menacing squad find Katniss and try to kill her, and PETA suggests to wait till she comes down, and come on, she's not that stupid. She won't give up, which is pretty unrealistic. The next morning, Katniss finds Rue, who sneaks around, shows her some tracker jackers, which is a type of bug that causes sting of death to some of the Cato's menacing squad. And they both get away as Katniss faints, and PETA tells her to get out of there, as she's passed out because she gets stung by a couple of those bugs, or tracker jackers, I'll call them. Anyways, which is a good trick, and I did like that, so I'll say that as a compliment. Katniss wakes up and becomes allies with Rue, and the actress who plays Rue is fine in the role, but not a great actress in my opinion. I know she came up with Darkest Minds a few years later. I did, however, like the signal of the Mockingjay here, but it'll be overused in the other movies in a way that it'll get annoying. Katniss blows up the trap of Cato's menacing squad and gets out of there, and Rue gets trapped, and next thing you know, killed. And I'm not sold by this drama, but I wasn't happy or sad about Rue's death, because I didn't care at this point. Katniss finds out there can be two winners from the same district, and she finds PETA and hides him as they kiss, and the whole world, including Gale, sees it, and PETA gets soup from a parachute next thing you know, and she hears an announcement about PETA's medicine, and the last of Cato's menacing squad attacks Katniss, and Rue's partner, Thresh, saves Katniss and kills the last menacing squad with Cato left to fight, and Katniss and PETA get out of their hideout to get some food, and the game makers make the day dark, and we hear Thresh is dead thanks to a cannon, and some giant dog attacks Katniss and PETA. And when I first saw this movie, I was in a sold-out theater, and it was at a midnight showing too, might I add. And when the dog jumped out, everyone jumped up and down there like I did, and it made me laugh super hard. I'm sorry, I just think it's funny. Katniss and PETA get away from the dogs and fight off Cato, as it was very hard to see because they were shaking the camera quiet all over the place. Hold the camera still, please. They kill Cato, and it turns back into daylight, and they announce it's only one victor now, and Katniss refuses that, as they almost eat the poisonous blueberries that was brought up earlier in the film. And they finish the games and win for that reason alone, and they both get crowned, and President Snow is pissed and wants vengeance, which will be the plot for the next 3 movies. And the climax is fine at best, but pretty unrealistic in my opinion. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 5.8 out of 10. The movie was fine at best. There were problems with it, sure, and it's a little overrated. There were times when the movie took a little too long to get to the point, and I would say cut out 20 to 30 minutes of it out of the movie, as it was a chore to sit through it this time, as I notice now, than previous times. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and I hope this is not a chore next week as I get into Catching Fire. And until next time, happy Hunger Games, and may the odds be forever in your favor.